Okay. Alright, this video is about replacing a door speaker because, well, these are pretty crappy old speakers and their sound quality sucks by today's standards. It's a 97 Toyota 4Runner, and we're going to replace the front door speakers to start, and I'm going to take out the door panel. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of stuff holding on this door panel. There's a Phillips screw right here that needs to come out. Here's your little Phillips screw. Oh, the tools I'm using, some plastic pry tools, bigger screwdrivers, big flat one, stubby flat one, Phillips. So there's a clip here. That's the only external clip. See, it's a two-piece. You just push the center in and then you can pull it out. The rest of the clips are just going to be on the inside, and we're going to pry those out in a little bit. Let's see, this guy, there we go. You got to push him forward so it unhooks. And then so the bezel and handle is all one piece, and it's held in with a clip here. So let's get a view of that. So there you go. Inside here is a green clip, and you have to pull that clip back. There we go. And then you can, you can see it in there. Then you have to pull the handle upward to get it off of the linkage. There we go. There's that linkage. Okay, then another thing we gotta do is, oh, there we go. That one came off nice. There's actually just, there's two clips here, two metal spring-loaded clips, and you just lift this up to get access to these two screws here. It's two large Phillips screws that are holding the panel to the metal door frame. Okay, then we got the electrical stuff here. There we go. Alright, so it pops up from the front. There's just a clip here. Then you pull it forward. Then you can disconnect the electrical connections. There we go. Just squeeze and pull. There we go. That's out of the way. Now we got to pop out all the clips here. Ooh, carefully. Want to put nice even pressure on this stuff. This is where you can use your prying tools. I feel a difficult one back here. Oh, there's also a metal pry tool I should get out and show you guys. Okay. Oh, you know what? There's one more little clip on the side I forgot about. Gotta take that one out. Same way as this one here. There we go. So here is the metal pry tool. Gonna give you a little more force, obviously, than a plastic one. Alright, so there's those two difficult ones right here. Finally came loose. Ooh. There we go. Actually, I was wrong about that. There we go. So if you just pull from the back and then tilt, you can lift it off the front end. There you go. There's also this clip here. Don't lose that. Alright, so now we have access to our speaker. But I also noticed that some of the clips got stuck in the door. There's more screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. that hold this whole speaker support piece in. So I'm gonna investigate and see what's going on back here. I don't want to force this speaker out and damage something. Alright, so I carefully moved it back. It does have like a foam seal around it. Alright, so I made this awesome discovery when I took out this speaker enclosure assembly, whatever you want to call it. It seems that, well, we took the 4 screws out and the speaker just didn't want to come out. And it seems that it's actually glued in place. I can see, I think, some of the glue right inside there. I don't know if that's visible, but anyways, yeah, there seems to be glue in there. And so I'm gonna try with a heat gun, try to heat it up and use my little chisel scraper tool, see if I can get this thing out of here. I gotta set on low heat because I don't want to like fry the plastic enclosure here. I'm sure it can hold a fair amount of heat, but still I don't want to push it. And the heat will kind of naturally transfer through the metal and heat up the glue. At least it's some sort of soft glue that kind of reacts with the heat well, so you can just pry it off. There we go. Okay. Alright, the other thing is the speaker wires are soldered in. So, yeah, then gotta heat those up and disconnect them. Or you can cut them as well. So there we go. Now we got our speaker free. The next fun part is probably going to be figuring out how to get the new speaker in here. Careful not to burn yourself. That metal stays pretty hot. Alright, so what I did is I used the heat gun to free the speaker from the enclosure here. And then the other part is that the wires are soldered directly to the terminals there. And then you just unplug here. And then actually you can see there's kind of like a Y-type setup where they're merged in together here for the tweeter and the mid-range woofer, or yeah, I'm not the stereo expert, so yeah, it's just it's like a mid-range speaker right there, just one way, and then you have the tweeter for the highs. And then this is my replacement, a Nakamichi, which you can actually find like on Lexus cars. It's supposed to be pretty good sound. It's pretty highly rated. This one is rated at 300 watts and is 6.5 inch. This is 6.5 inch rated. You can't even read it hardly. It says 20 watts on it, so I think we should get a bit of improvement. So then there's the other issue of how do you want to hook this up, because originally we have basically a two-way speaker in 2 pieces. We have the mid-range woofer and the tweeter, and then the new speaker has the 2 ways all in one. So the easy route that we can take is just clip this, or maybe I'll just put the flame to this and pull the solder joints. But then you can just hook one of these adapters right here and you just hook it up to the speaker, and then plug this in directly to the wiring in the door and just bypass this stuff right here. And then you'll still have the same 2-way setup. It's just all in one. But unfortunately your tweeter is not going to run. That's up at the top of the door panel. Or if you want to reconnect these wires to the new speaker, you can still have the tweeter running on top as well. So yeah, I think we'll see if we can try it that way. Alright, so I got the wiring out, and yeah, we can toss this crappy stock speaker. Alright, so the next dilemma we have is figuring out how to make this speaker mount into the enclosure. It has a 4-hole pattern which lines up with the stock pattern, except it's a little bit smaller. So the holes don't quite reach on any side. Well, except, well, maybe one side, but then the other 3 don't line up. And then the other problem is that it doesn't sit flush. We got a little bit of a gap there. So I'm going to take the Dremel tool and grind this out on the inner edge here and see if we can make that a little bit better. Alright, so here's the Dremel tool. The bit I'm actually putting in there is meant for cutting metal. Well, grinding away metal, shaving away metal. But yeah, so it should be plenty good for the removal of some plastic. So after grinding away at this edge here, and then I realized that there was also this edge in the way, which of course this is all gonna, the amount that you have to cut away is gonna vary depending on the aftermarket speaker you have. This Nakamichi's, man, it's so close, but the 4-hole pattern is just a little bit smaller. I think I'm gonna have to settle for 3 out of 4 screws. I don't think I'll have any rattling or any issues. So I'm just gonna use this connector, just gonna bypass the factory wiring, put the connector on. There we go. Then you can just run it up through the opening there. Oh, which I suppose needs to be like on this side. I want to use that original notch there. Okay. Alright. So there I got my wiring sticking out so I can plug it into the factory connector. You can see it's the same end. It's a copy of this. So it should hook up just fine. I got them online for, I think, like $5 for a pair. Yeah, basically, it's going to be tricky if you don't have just the right bolt pattern, because there's very minimal material to be threading your screw into. You're probably best off choosing an aftermarket speaker that has like a ton of bolt patterns and maybe a little wider flange here or edge. But yeah, once you play with it a little bit, you should be able to get the speaker secure, and then, yeah, as I was saying, we'll get it back in the vehicle. Alright, so after grinding the edge here, the bolt pattern wasn't lining up. I'd experimented with drilling a smaller bolt pattern, but it's just so close that didn't work. So I came up with another idea. I just notched out the holes with the good old grinder, and I notched it out so I have more movement or more room to place screws to hold this speaker into the enclosure or the mount. And then I also found that because the insulation on the new wires is so much thicker, I gotta notch out this piece, or this little section here. That's pretty easy. I just use my Dremel tool. That should be enough right there. So notch here, notch the 4 here. Some of mine are perfectly straight, and that's probably pretty ideal right there. So then, well, to get my short little wire to reach here, I have to actually mount the speaker like so. I mean, if you're super picky, you probably want the Nakamichi up here, but who cares? No one's ever going to see it. Alright, so now, now with the notches, you can see the mounting holes there. So let's see how this works out. There is still this lip that's on the outer edge of the speaker, or the speaker frame. So let's see how this works. This should get us close enough to where this will fit solid. So I'm actually using the original screws, which are like half the length of the screws that come with the speakers. Typical speaker mounting screws that come in the kit. Alright, so let's see. So you can see the difference here. Yep, about twice as long. Alright, I'm just checking to make sure my wire is in it's notched there, it doesn't get pinched. Alright. Do be careful too, because when you use the grinder, if you choose that method, it will create some sharp edges, so be careful. Alright, so we're now mounted to the original holes. It's not picture perfect, but hey, it's solid and it fits like stock, which is what I like to always go for. And then of course there's this clip here, so I just pushed these wires into there, the original wires, and I didn't want to just throw them out and remove them, because in case they ever want to go back to the stock configuration. So there we go. We're ready to put this back into the 4Runner. Here we are back, ready to finally install the speaker enclosure. Last night was spent messing around, making everything fit, but it looks pretty good now. So we're gonna screw it back into place. All right, I'm starting with the top one just to kind of hold it from falling out. Although the magnet kind of held it in place, I could feel it grab the door. I'm not tightening any of the screws yet because I want to make sure they all get into place the way they should be. One annoying thing that can happen is that something binds up. The last screw binds up after you tightened all the other ones. Okay, so looks like we're good with the alignment. Tighten it down. Alright, so then we have this loose wire that we're not using anymore, but I'll just stick it in there so it doesn't rattle. Then we got the wire that is still functioning. You can see which way it goes because there's a groove that matches up to the plug. There we go. Alright, so now we can put our panel back. So there's this plastic clip here. There wasn't one on the other side. I think it's just sort of a wedge to make the panel fit tight. We didn't have to remove the tweeter, which now is not functional, but that's okay. I didn't want to hook this up just because I didn't replace it, and I figured the sound quality wasn't going to match the new speaker. So I'm just going to leave it alone. Oh, one thing I like to do before I put it back together, I like to put silicone paste onto, I don't know, it's just a weird thing that I do, but it seems to be helpful. I put it on the clips because if you got to go and take the door panel out, it was pretty difficult to pop this thing out. I mean, I was like a little worried I was going to break the panel, and that does happen sometimes. So I'm just putting some of this silicone paste on all the clips around their area that contacts the door, so that next time if I have to pull it out to, say, do like a window motor regulator, it should slide out more easily. So yeah, especially on the two green clips right here that are actually at the front of the door, they clip in here. Those ones were difficult to get out, and I had to pry them out with a tool after the panel popped off of them. Okay, so make sure that your plugs are in the right place. for the power window control and the door lock. And then I'm just gonna try to get this back in the same way it came out. Angle the front down, and then drop the back end of it over the door lock. And hey, it looks like it's already lined up. I can see the hole here. Everything looks good. Alright, so just gonna snap it in. Yeah, I can feel it. I can even feel it snapping in more easily. So I can feel that silicone lube doing its thing. Alright, so then I'm going to plug in my controls. And so yeah, hooked in back here. Here, maybe I should show you the shape of it. So this piece hooks in, and then this piece drops down. Sometimes silicone lube helps on these too, but this one wasn't too difficult. But hey, just for good measure, put a little bit on there. There we go. Alright, so just got a couple more things to do. Gotta put in the large screws. Probably should be using a larger bit, but this one's good enough. It wants to slip out of the screw head just a little bit. Alright, that's solid. And we can put the cover on. Same thing here, we got these metal clips. Just gonna brush a little bit on there. There we go. And then the last sort of tricky little part, well, don't forget your clips, of course. What you gotta do, you might find that the prongs, I got a couple prongs broken off, but that happens. I think it still will hold. It'll stay. Should replace that. This one has all its prongs, but see, what you gotta do is you gotta just push the centerpiece back out, and then this one goes on the back side here. There we go. And just pop it in, and it locks just like that. Tricky bit here at the end is, see, what happens is the metal rod here, that rod right there, has to slide into this clip. So there we go. Wait, I'm getting in the right position here. Okay, so it drops into the clip, and then clip snaps onto it. Oh, I think I might be doing that the wrong way. It goes up into the clip, sorry. Up into the clip, so you gotta slide this aside, put the rod up in there, and then pull this over and snap it on. This part can be kind of a pain in the ass, I won't lie. Not too bad. Just that you gotta pull the rod out a little bit. Oop, see, shot back. There we go. If you position it right, it actually will slide right in. Then you can take like maybe a flathead screwdriver and push the clip back on. There you go. And then these, if you didn't see this before, see these are hooks here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. And so you gotta hook it into the door panel. Alright, so you can kind of tilt it, slide it back, and then the last part is just getting this screw in. Alright, there we go. We're all done.